channels. Make sure everything is... Are things appearing where they should? Okay, that looks like it's up. Let's check if YouTube is up yet. Yep, looks like it's up. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Crow's Nest. We'll be doing a lovely interview with a great local artist. He's a good friend of mine. Local cowboy of the Brooklyn music scene. A Americana artist for the folks. I was just listening to him today, and just, it's what I think country music should sound like. I would love to introduce Charles Ellsworth, everybody. Applause.
Thank you
can't
so
see
much.
the chat, but it's going crazy.
That's awesome. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You know, we were just talking about how we've known each other for quite a bit of time at this point.
Yeah.
You were one of the people that was on the bill for when we first released our self-titled record back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it was just like looking for random bands with. I think even the venue set it up, and I was just remembered how good your stuff is. And
yeah, I remember you guys as well too, being like, oh man, it was such a fun show. Was that at Wayward Social? Is that what that place was called?
I think it was, and it's gone now. I think they tore it down and built like a storage container.
That makes sense.
Classic New York problems right there, which is just your places, you're like, oh, I'll go back to that venue, and it's gone.
Yeah, that's happened a lot. It's crazy to have been here long enough to where you feel like you've seen different eras of like Bushwick venues and things like that.
Absolutely. I was just thinking about how I used to work right around where Our Wicked Lady used to be. Speaking of another venue that just shut down.
Yeah, bummer. I love that spot.
Oh, it's a great spot. I used to work over there in a metal shop because that was my day job. I work as a drafts person.
Oh,
and
cool.
My first day there, I step out of the car, I see a bunch of heroin needles, and it smells like human feces. And it was just like such a dangerous neighborhood to be a part of. It's like, lock the car, make sure it's safe over there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it's even like, I mean, that's like where my first apartment was off the Morgan L stop. So
yeah.
I think me and my first roommate used to go drinking at Wayward Social when it was Alaska Bar because they had a pool table. So, wild stuff.
Yeah. Well, all right. You know, I this is a great opportunity because when you do shows with people, you don't always get a chance to really just dive deep with people because the venue's way too loud and I can't hear what you're saying. So I think, like I explained, and I say this at every episode, where it's basically this is a chance for people to kind of just understand the process a little bit. Like, this is the show for the person who's like, I don't know how to get started as an artist, and we're just gonna kind of take away some of the mysticism of it all, like like kind of just offer opportunities and knowledge for what people, can get into, and also just kind of learn more about you.
Cool, that's awesome. I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, so basically a little bit of background about yourself. I'm kind of curious. I can clearly tell there are some real Americana country roots. I was telling my friends that I was just like, this is what country music should sound like. Instead of this weird rap, pop sound. I call it stadium country now because I feel like that's the only way to describe it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good explanation for it, or like description, because it's like even calling it radio country is like, well, what even is the radio anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Like and so stadium country is a good way to put it.
It's like your
Steve
Keith
Earl.
Urban's. Urban.
Steve Earle said something about like country music now sounding like it's like rap music for people who are afraid of black people. And I was like,
that's
dude,
totally fair.
That's a pretty apt description of a lot of modern country music, I feel like.
Yeah, they mostly just talk about listening to country music, it seems like. They'll like make references to country music while also just rapping about it, and you're like, what are you doing, man? What is this?
Yeah.
It's so like, because originally the whole feel of it was just like, it's so natural, and it's like it's like it's got like the real feel to it, but it's so processed now that it's like, well, what are we doing here, man? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Well, and it's like so much of country music has roots in like leftist working class history and like folk music, like past like people knew the melody of a song and then they'd like change the lyrics to be about like that specific strike, but everyone knew how
Exactly.
to sing along because they knew the song because it's like a standard.
Yeah.
And you know, like there's a and now it's like it seems like it's so like bootlicking and very
Let's go to
very
Applebee's.
yeah, let's go to Applebee's. Very corporate, and also like, let's make sure we all have like Blue Lives Matter Punisher stickers on our trucks.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, and
Um,
it's just like this weird contradiction of a contradiction.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's almost disrespectful. But anyways, some of the questions I kind of a little bit. I want to know a little bit about your backstory. You know, like where you come from, like what, like your family. Where does your taste in music come from? Do you have like a source or something that like kind of got you into music in that way?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I grew up in a place called Pine Top, Arizona, so it's in the White Mountains, like 3 hours northeast of Phoenix, and you know, I grew up Mormon, and so there the Mormon
Oh,
church is
really?
pretty, yeah, and like big family and tons of cousins and aunts and uncles, and like the Mormon church is like a lot of churches very pro music, and well, like pro, like there's like a lot of hymns and everybody's singing and you know and so like I took piano lessons at a young age or whatnot, and so and growing up in like rural Arizona in the 90s, it was just like Garth Brooks and George Strait and Alan Jackson and Shania Twain and the
Yeah.
Dixie Chicks and you know like 90s radio country and so I grew up on that stuff mostly, and then I don't know, around age 12 I discovered like classic rock like Led Zeppelin, and that kind of
Everyone's
was
got a
like
Zeppelin phase.
yeah, and like that's when I picked up a guitar. Was like, oh shit, like that's what I want to fucking do that. I remember I rented the song remains the same from the video store. That was like we used to have this path through the woods to go to this video store and this record store, and like that's where a lot of my early taste was like came from, was like renting video games and movies from this one spot, and then checking out records at the record store next door.
Okay. Well, now, so you listed a lot of music, but would you say is there anyone in particular that were like a kind of a confidant, a Sherpa, if you would, into your musical taste? Like who kind of introduced you to Zeppelin and stuff like
Um,
that?
well, I think I discovered Zeppelin because of I used to watch like those things on VH1 back when
Oh yes.
there was like the 100 greatest rock and roll songs of all time, and so that's
Yeah.
how I would find a lot of music because you know like my especially my Mormon family, it was like I wasn't getting a lot of stuff that wasn't church based or wasn't kind of in the zeitgeist of like top 40 radio, like the three
Mm.
radio stations that were in my town. And so then like my good friend Spencer's older brother Preston, who were like their family's like a second family to me in a way, where I was on a camping trip with them when we were in like sixth or seventh grade, and his brother had like one of those CD booklets where there's like nine to a page,
Oh
and he
yeah.
had just so many CDs, and you know a lot of them were burned because this was like burning when that became a thing, and I was like listening to a Limp Bizkit CD that I had, and he was like, "Oh, that's a cool CD, like, or that's a cool record. Like, you should listen to this." And he like had me listen to like a Get Up Kids record, and then he was like, and then it was like Alkaline Trio, and then Modest Mouse. You know, like all on in
Yeah.
that trip, he was like kind of guiding me into some other stuff, and then like a year later, he took me to my first punk rock show,
Uh,
and
it's always the older brother. It's always
yeah,
the
yeah.
older
It's the
sibling.
friend. It's either you have an older brother or it's a friend's older brother
Yeah,
or a
it's well,
sister.
for mine was my sister's boyfriend, who
Oh
kind
yeah,
of became that kind of older brother figure for me. It definitely
totally.
influenced the musical taste. Yeah, but what was the first concert?
It was the Ataris, Nerf Herder, and Nada Surf.
Is that like wait Nerf Herder? Is this like a nerd core band? Like what?
This is like like early pop punk, like in this weird emo, like the
Mm,
Ataris. This would have been like much before they had that Don Henley song cover that broke up or that blew up, the Boys of Summer.
mm.
But yeah, it's like I don't know. This is like pop punk, but not Green Day or Blink 182.
Gotcha.
Like in a similar realm of it, but like never got that big.
Totally. Yeah,
You know.
it's the smaller bands that just that aren't as big as and popular. Okay, interesting. Actually, what kind of guitar? What was your first guitar? Were you electric or
Um,
acoustic? First
my
off.
first one was acoustic. There's my let's see. We had this family friend who like their like daughter would like babysit me all growing up. They're all still family friends, and um, I remember they had a guitar at their house that never got played, and I was playing around with it at some point, and then like years later when I discovered Zeppelin and wanted to play guitar, I like remembered they had a guitar and I was like, hey, do you still have that guitar? Does anyone use it? Could I like buy it or whatnot? And so I think I paid $35 to like her brother because it was his guitar, and like
Yeah.
and it was like this little student guitar, it was like the perfect size for um 12-year-old me, but I'm left-handed, and so
So am I.
oh, really? Do you
Yeah,
play guitar left-handed?
I play it right-handed
So do I. Yeah, because it
I'm
was.
like this does more. This is more
Yeah,
involved, and I never
exactly.
understood that. I think it's a remnant of classical guitar where you're doing most of the motion with the that hand, but this is modern
Totally.
rock, baby. We're just
Yeah,
that's
this
a
is
fist. You could just
punk
tape
rock and country music. I mean, some of it's very phenomenal, but like it's not what I've ever been known for.
exactly same.
It's more about the emotion and the feeling behind it than the technicality when I'm playing.
So you do play right-handed as well.
Yeah, I do. It was
Yeah.
easier to
Okay.
find a guitar and that's exactly what my sister's friend told me because I knew he played guitar and I asked him and he was like, "Well, I'd rather have my dominant hand be my fretting hand," and so I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." So
Plus, it's just you have so many more options for guitars and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I tried when I was trying to learn drums at one point to do it the correct hand, and it was just like if every show I have to do, I have to set this up and like change everything around. And I've also been in bands with people that are left-handed, and then it's just
yeah,
like, oh, my guitar breaks. We can't exchange guitars. Like
yeah,
you're in a different realm. You might as well be playing a different instrument.
yeah, and I think they're more expensive on average. So
Yeah.
it's like I kind of dodged a bullet in that way.
Really, it's okay. So you've, uh, so what was that? Oh yes. So we just talked about your first concert.
Hmm.
Would you? It sounds like you weren't really in. Would you say that was an inspiration to start playing? What was the thing that inspired you to be like, okay, yes, I like enjoying playing playing music with my family and at church and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
what was the moment in which you switched into like, oh no, I want to write some songs and be in a band and like do all those kinds of things.
It was kind of just the thing like me and my friends always did.
Mm,
We'd like play in my friend's garage and try and put bands together and whatnot, and maybe play a talent show once a year.
mm,
And then later on in high school, when we had our own cars, we could actually get to each other's houses, so we would like jam more. And then at some point, I had a friend who I knew from snowboarding because I there was a ski resort like an hour from where I grew up. So
mm-hmm.
it's in Arizona, but it's like a mountain town, and so a lot of people come up there to go skiing. I had this friend that I used to snowboard with that was in a band, and he was like, "Hey, we're booking this tour, and we want to play your town." And so I ended up setting up a show at my high school, like in the halls of my high school, because it was the only place in my hometown that we could do it. And luckily I had this really cool principal that was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's figure out how to make it happen. And it went really well. And that ended up being a thing that, like, I mean, maybe I had like a month or two where me and my band were like, oh, we got to actually finish these songs that we're just jamming for the past 2 years. And,
Oh,
and
so
that was
you
kind of,
opened for that band?
yeah, we ended up playing that. And we got my friend's Gorky, who's like still a band today. they played like my first show with me, and they're like still a band. It's just been different members and whatnot. My
Of
buddy
course, yeah.
Jesse lives in Portland, Oregon now, and he's still playing. And so, um, but yeah, yeah, so that kind of like was the first show, and it was like, oh wow, this is cool. And so we just kind of started making it a thing, and I partially funded my junior and senior proms with like money we made at these concerts, because we take some for like student council or whatnot, even
Oh,
though I
so it
wasn't
became part of
involved in
the
student council
actual.
at all.
So it's part of the school programming in a way where it's like, oh, you can use the school, but you got to give some of that funding back to the school for events. And so
Totally.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And we'd always pay the band, because there was nothing to do up in like this community of all these small towns that were like within an hour of each other.
Mm.
And so we'd always get a lot of young people out, other high school from other towns and whatnot. And, and so we were able to pay the bands pretty well. And it was just like a cool thing, and got to be known as like a little community thing where like we had bands that would hit me up that were from California. Like, we're booking this tour, because was like, this would have been early MySpace days. And
Mm.
so that was kind of my first taste of it. And then, you know, one band turned into another that started getting a little more serious, and then went away to college. And then while I was gone in Salt Lake for a year, they got a little more serious about it. And so I kind of went back and rejoined that band to make a record, and so it's just kind of like always been this thing that we did. That band was like together from I want to say my senior year of high school till let's see, 2005 to 2009. And we ended up, by 2009, we like had toured a little bit and put out some records that had gotten a little bit of attention and whatnot. And then we
Mm.
like the last tour we went on was like our first tour where we made money. Like, everyone got home, and we split, like, we each got like $100,
Oh
and
wow,
all the other tours we had gone on, like,
you
we
could
had
retire
to,
off of that.
yeah, totally. It had come out of pocket, and we just had these crazy adventures where it was just like, I was the oldest. I think I was 21, or when we
Mm.
started, I was 20. The first tour we went on, I was
And this,
19.
sorry, and this is the first band, or this is the band after the high school band?
This was the band that started like at the end of high school.
End of high school. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, and so yeah, and like that, it was just like the funnest shit I'd ever done. You're just like driving around the country with like your best friends, and you're just playing rock and roll music every night, and just doing dumb things that dudes on tour do when they're 19, 20, 21 years old. And just, yeah, it was awesome. And then that band broke up, and I thought I was done with music at that point. I was like, I'm going to go back to school and finish my degree. And then I met my friend Vincent Draper in Salt Lake City when I was back at school. And um, I saw like his band play at like a barbecue I was at. And
Oh,
so
nice.
um, and so I started talking to him, and yeah, became friends. I showed him some of my songs. They were really encouraging and booked me on some shows in Salt Lake. And because like that other band I was in, I was like the bass player, so I booked like all the shows.
Well,
And
was
I
it?
kind of,
I think I saw Alaska and Me was the name of
yeah,
that band. Yes.
yeah. And so I was kind of like the pseudo manager of that band, and I booked all the shows and everything. But yeah, I only like co-wrote some of the
Mm.
songs. And so this is turning into a long story, but it's just like music's always been this thing that I've done, and I never planned on it being my like career, until at some point it was just like, oh, I guess this is what I'm doing, because I'm never gonna quit doing this. And I'm like, um and there's nothing else I want to do, but it's not
Right.
like what I went to school for. I was never like, people knew I loved music, and I set up concerts and was in bands, but I don't think anybody, at least it wasn't on my radar, that I would be like a lifer playing music forever.
Now, you brought up an interesting point. This is something I always like to ask: is this your full time gig, being a musician, or do you have like another thing that's up to as like a day job or something like that?
I've got a day job, but it's music related, and I do a lot of freelance work that is, like I guitar tech for people, and I have
Okay.
a
Yeah.
van that I tour in, so sometimes people hire me to drive them places, or to haul gear around, or so it is like, I have a main gig that's like my main paycheck, but it's all music related.
Do you mind if
And
I a- if I if what that main gig is, because I like to hear it because it helps like people, because it's very intimidating to get into this type of work and being like, well, how do you sustain yourself? So I'm not going to bother. So I always like to hear what people are doing to like subsidize their income, because I have a very weird job myself, trying to
Oh, really?
balance this kind of stuff, but also having kind of a corporate gig that's
Yeah,
like
totally.
in office kind of situation. So I'm always interested to hear what people do to subsidize their income.
My main
Or
thing
their
is like guitar teching, and I'll do um like a lot of like equipment management and
Okay, it's like I think you said that earlier. Sorry, I misheard you on that.
oh
So.
yeah, no, it's cool. It's just like because it is it's like my the band that hires me the most, there isn't any one thing I do for them, but it
Mm.
is kind of all like involved with like, hey, this thing needs to get from here to here, this thing needs to get from here to there, or like what, or somebody can't come and do this tour to guitar tech, so we need you to step in and be the guitar tech for these 2 weeks,
Mm.
things like that. So but yeah, it is kind of just mostly freelance in a way where I'm just like trying to like do a good enough job that people suggest me for the next one.
Totally. Oh, I mean, I imagine it's kind of a word of mouth kind of business where it's just. I'm assuming you probably got that job because you were on the road, interacting with a bunch of bands, and someone was just like, "Hey, this guy's cool. Let's give him a job."
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like having a van in New York City is like a big part of it.
Wait, you
You
have a
know what?
van in New York City? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because I
We
tour so
shut off
much.
the
So
stream. Shut off the stream.
yeah,
Let's talk.
yeah. So I'm actually like thinking about buying a second van to like actually start an LLC and rent it out to people so they can like
Oh,
get on
nice.
tour a little more and
I'll be.
be
Oh, go ahead.
oh, just to it's like so expensive to like go through enterprise or whatnot to and like they have like a lot more overhead than me, so I'm like,
Mm,
well, if I could try and make kind of work on a sliding scale type thing. I haven't fully done it yet, so I might be talking out of school, but
that's fine.
just like kind of work on a sliding scale where like I've got friends that go on tour and need a van and can't afford two
I
hundred
mean,
bucks a day,
that's kind
you
of
know.
our thing right now. Where like we're in the process of trying to like I'll be a little story about me. I've never really toured before.
Hmm.
We've done. I was originally from New Hampshire, so we would like play some shows as far as our minivan could
Totally.
go. But once I moved here, my minivan died. There was nowhere to
Oh,
put it.
bummer.
So and we weren't ready to tour, but now we're like hitting
Yeah.
that point where we're going to, and I'm looking at prices, and it's like luckily I make good enough money where I can do it, but it's a total sink of just like this is like deep red, running into the red of like making money or not. So it's
Yeah,
like
totally. That's yeah, I mean, everything's gotten so much more expensive too since I started touring, and even in the
yeah.
past 5 or so years.
I'm even thinking about buying a van, but I'm like, oh, if I have to dealing with New York City parking and what am I gonna put it and yada yada yada.
Depending
It's
on where you live, luckily my neighborhood's pretty easy to.
yeah. One thing I did want to ask. Actually, this is a question. Because you were talking about how many bands have you been in total? Would you say
Um, that like played more than 3 shows, probably like 4 or 5.
4 or 5? Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that was in high school that broke up like while I was in college, my first taste of it. We kind of broke up in like it was just kind of not nasty, but just like I don't know, it made me kind of just really not trust my dream in other people's hands. So that's
Yeah, I
always
get
been a
that.
difficult thing for me in a band, is like why I had to kind of go solo, because I'm like, well, I'm gonna fucking just keep doing this even if it means I'm eating hot dogs or whatever's cheap, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
I
whatever
definitely
I
get that
eat's probably
feeling.
cheap.
I get that
Yeah,
feeling of, like being in a band. It's just like I've had very much the attitude where I'm like, don't worry, guys. I'll take most of the load. Just
yeah,
make sure you're there to play music. That's all I really need, you guys. Just I'm gonna take that stress away so you guys can just enjoy it and have a good time. But
totally. And also at that point, like when you can get to a point where you can hire other people, then your life only gets easier.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like if you're already handling all that stuff and you just figure out how to delegate when that time comes, I
being
imagine
letting
it's
go.
yeah,
Oh my
it's
god.
that's hard. I mean, that's just what I've been trying to observe with some of the bigger bands I work with. Is like,
Mm.
okay, how does this structure work? Because I've always just, okay, I want a lighting show on this tour. I'm gonna buy some lights and like figure out how to program a lighting show. Like not like it's never in the realm of possibility that I'm like, oh, I can hire a lighting person and
Yeah.
rent a lighting rig. It's just like, no, I'm just gonna buy a couple cheap lights and figure out how to make them do this. you know?
Very DIY, which
Yeah,
I
totally.
you can never really knock. Honestly, I mean, it's made careers in the past, so you can't knock it. You might discover something that no one's ever done before. One
Totally.
one of my favorite shows I've ever seen was a guy who was he was a solo act, but he had backing tracks. And to make it interesting, because it's a little hard when it's just a guy and some backing tracks.
Mm.
Visually, you're like, where's this sound coming from? He literally set up a microphone and put like a table plant, like a potted plant, on the thing, and mic'd up the plant so it looked like the music was coming from the plant.
Oh,
And,
that's a good call.
and it's just like just like bits like that where you're like, you're not gonna see that on anything a big stage. This is like they got too much money, but this guy's just like, I'm solving a problem that some people find annoying at that type of setting. But
Yeah, and it's an aesthetic, and it's like it's something that people will remember. You
exactly,
remember it. It
yeah.
worked.
From what you're saying, you five bands. From all those shows and experiences when you were like younger, do you have like a favorite concert memory from when you guys are on the road or anything in particular?
Um, let's see, like early days, I would say. Oh man, I mean, there was this time we played in. Um, Crap, what is the name of that place? Grants Pass, Oregon, and
Hmm.
none of us had ever been to Grants Pass, Oregon. Didn't know what to expect. My stepdad had gone to school in Oregon back in like the '70s,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, Grants Pass, what are you doing? And we were playing like a costume shop that also had like a venue in it, and just showed up and didn't know what to expect at all, and ended up being like just a really fun show of like just stepping into like this other world of like, oh, these are all like really fun people that are really just trying to like have a good time in like a small town that there's not a lot to do, and kind of reminded me of my hometown in a way. And it was just like, now I feel like that's a lot less novel because I do that a lot. I step
Mm-hmm.
into all these over the years. It's just like, oh, I've done it like around the world, where I step into these communities and play a show, and it's amazing. But like that's like an early one that burned into my brain, that like I remember as we were playing, there's maybe 15 to 20 people there, and as we were playing, these two people start dancing in the crowd, and one of them is this dude. He's dancing. He's got sunglasses on. And he's dancing like just in this really unique way that I can still picture the way he was dancing. And then afterwards, he comes up and introduces himself to us, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? I'm Blind Don." And we're like, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm blind." That like it was just like it all kind of clicked because like the
Oh yeah.
sunglasses and everything like that. And it turned out he like had a local radio show, and he really dug our stuff. And he's like, "I don't have any cash on me," and this is like pre Venmo and all that stuff. But he's like, "I got some really good weed. Do you like? Could I trade you for some CDs?" And we were just like, "Hell yeah," And then we gave him some CDs, and we got some weed, and he played our songs on the radio. And then when we would come back through, we'd see him again. And like that was one of the first times that it had ever been like I felt really welcomed into this community, and not like, oh, we're playing to our friends that now live in Phoenix and go to college there.
Yeah. Yeah, I get
It's
that.
like,
I know
oh, we
that
didn't
feeling.
know anyone when we showed up, and now we feel like we're friends with all 20 of these people.
Oh god, that's so nice. It's like you're a guest star in a TV series that you're just like
Yeah,
this little world that I'm not a part of, and you're gonna go off back into your life, but it's just for this one moment. It's just a
that's
crazy little pocket.
that's why tour can be so amazing, and also sometimes like kind of it can be exhausting, because like especially at that age, it's like every town we got into, if we knew anyone, even if we didn't know them, if you make friends with people, they're like, the band's in town, let's party. And like for them it's just like one night, But
Yeah.
for you, it's like every night. And even like back then, I remember noticing after like 5 or 6 nights in a row being like, what am I doing? Like it's just like drive, play music, drink, recover.
Oh my God, that's yeah, that's as a man in my 30s, I definitely think about that as well. Just having that energy to do all that stuff.
Oh,
Um,
totally. Yeah, I don't live like that anymore.
that's why I got to do it young. Okay,
Yeah.
now we're getting into the process section. This is the
Okay.
this is the stuff we're helping the young minds figure out their creative process, and I want to know yours. And this is also just kind of also routine. Do you like just because I'm also just curious how other people work.
Yeah,
We'll
totally.
go with well, let's go with a simple one. How often are you practicing your instrument? I'm assuming you're mostly guitar these days.
Yeah, mostly guitar. I mean, vocals, but it's like I've never really had a professional approach to vocals, so
Mm,
I feel like I do practice it more than I used to, but it is like my version of practicing is just singing.
just
Yeah, just
singing your songs.
yeah, just playing my songs or other people's songs. And I mean, I like to try and play guitar every single day. Like to try and play guitar and sing every single day, but there are sometimes, like I just put out a video on my YouTube, and sometimes I just get really, when I'm like really trying to make something look decent and feel good, I will kind of dive into that for a few days, and like every free moment of creative energy just goes into that. And so there was like last week for maybe 4 days, I don't know if I touched a guitar.
Mm.
And by day like two, it was kind of like, oh shit, like I need to play my guitar. But like my with New York City, I'm lucky I have a pretty big room, but like I still like, it's like I can't have my video making stuff and my writing music, playing
Yeah.
guitar stuff set up at the same time. There's not enough space.
Oh,
So it's
absolutely.
like if I'm in video making mode, I'm like, okay, this is where my room's at, and it's going to take me an hour to like change it to something else and then change it back to get back to video mode. So
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, that is a so while you, all right. So you're saying every day. Now, are you doing more just like running your own stuff, working on covers? Are you just doing scales and like arpeggios and like the more classical, proper training techniques of guitar playing?
it's a combination of everything, but it is, mostly it's not super regimented. Sometimes like earlier this year, this winter, I was having a pretty rough winter. Like had
Mm.
a romantic breakup and a band breakup all within like 48 hours of each other,
Oh,
and then
48 hours?
yeah, that
That's
sucked.
crazy.
And that was like less than a week after the election, so
Oh God, yeah.
was just having an interesting winter. And then with the election results and everything, we were all kind of going through it this winter. And
Yeah.
so what I did to kind of try and start pulling myself out of that funk was like when I was like trying to find the joy that I love about music. Like, where's the joy in anything? I was like really
Hmm.
struggling and mentally just like not in a good place. And so just trying to find like, do I even like music anymore? Do I even, and so what I did is I started um, learning like Zeppelin songs, like solos, like the solo to Stairway to Heaven, because I was like I wanted to play that song from beginning to end since I picked up the guitar, but I never like actually perfected it. And
Yeah.
so things like that, trying to play Thin Lizzy solos, stuff like that, that it's like I'm not doing like regimented scales, and sometimes I will run that, and I do it a lot more in the past few years. But lately, it's been a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna learn exactly how this person plays this solo, and learn the little tricks and weird bends and phrases they do there,
Now,
and
when you're
then
when you're doing that, are you doing it like by ear? Are you looking up like how's your approach for that kind of stuff?
oh,
Like,
it's all YouTube. Yeah, I'm not a by ear. I'm not a prodigy by any means.
yeah, okay,
Like anyone who's ever been in a band with me can probably attest to my lack of like technical skill and or knowledge. Um, so it's all YouTube, and like figuring it out from beginning to end, and then practicing it slow and speeding it up until I can do the
mm.
whole thing.
There's a great app that I just not too recently, but I found that really helps when it comes to like playing songs, because I'm not much of an ear training kind of guy. My approach to music has always been I'm actually just getting into like trying to learn more covers, because when I learned guitar, it was like the guitar teacher's like, here's a book of chords, learn these chords. And I just started writing songs because he would give me a new chord, and I would try to write a song with it and stuff
cool.
like that. And that was my approach, but it left me very like, I don't know many songs besides my own.
Totally.
But I found this great tool recently called the Amazing Slow Downer. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's basically this app on your phone. You used to be able to connect it to Spotify, but basically you can like slow down the song. You can also loop a section of the song, so that I can say if you really wanted to figure out that solo, you could just like take that one section, loop it, and also just like put it like 50 speed without affecting the pitch, and still like run that part over and over again.
That's awesome.
I'll send you the link if you're interested.
Yeah, I am interested. That sounds great.
Yeah. But yes, okay, cool. So mix of bag. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I mentioned I'm trying to like build a show on like an MPC like drum machine with like looping and whatnot. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can just be like a one-man band with a much bigger sound, like your plant friend sounds like.
Yeah.
And so these
might be the
days,
plant guy next. You might be doing it with a plant suit.
I might. Yeah, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll steal that idea.
But use the deer head that you got in the background there. Just put a microphone in front of its face.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. I mean, when I've done it at shows before, because my band's called the Space Force Deserters, and I'll be like, the problem with deserters is that they desert you.
Yeah.
And so, but this is my trusty robot NPC 3PO. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
You know,
so this would be a different project. This is not under your name per se. This is like something else you'd be doing.
I think I'm still figuring it out, you know, because my name thing is what I can travel and play shows doing. If I start a new project, that's going to be a whole new thing. But, and I'm really just trying to figure out how to like go play shows on the other side of the country without having to do a 3 or 4 week tour with a whole band and spend all the money because everything's way too fucking expensive.
Oh yeah. Oh, we've been trying to figure out how to like go to like Illinois, and just like how to do that. And like we're thinking like flying because it seems the cheapest option, but then just trying to get all the gear there, and like no, you can't trust planes to not destroy your gear. I watched this whole video with Adam about Adam Neely from YouTube. He does a lot of those like music theory stuff, but he did a bunch of stuff on tour, and just like how you can get your like gear lost and destroyed, and it's just I'm so nervous about it that I'm like, just put me in a van.
I mean, that's kind of how I've always been, is the van approach, but I'm trying to just figure out a way to do that. You know, it's because money for gigs and stuff like that isn't going up, but the cost of everything else is.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. But anyways, back to the creative process. So you're a songwriter. You've been doing it for a couple bands, I assume. I kind of want to know what your approach is. Like when you're starting with a song, do you start like what's the first thing you do when you're like I want to write a song, or what sparks that inspiration to start?
It's kind of different every single time. I feel like a lot of times, most of my ideas for songs or like fresh ideas either come from when I'm just pick up somebody else's guitar and start playing around on it, just like noodling around. Then I get other ideas, or if I put new strings on my acoustic guitar, that'll help.
So your music first.
I mean, it's like I'm always writing lyrics, like I'm always coming up with little phrases that I'm like, oh, I like that, or I have, like in a song idea will start as like a seed of like I have this song 6 is Scared of 7 that is started off as like a joke I would tell at parties to like no, just to the most awkward, like no laughs, because it was a 9/11 joke before I guess because I see a lot more 9/11 jokes than I did 8 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's becoming the point where a lot of like adults now were like, I was born after 9/11 happened, so they have no emotional connection with it. So the
Dude,
jokes are flying. It's officially history at this point.
no, it really is, and as someone who, we're similar age, like that
Yeah.
was like a very defining moment for me. But the joke is like, why is six afraid of seven? He thinks she did 9/11.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I mean, it was a joke I came up with, and like I would never get any laughs, and so I was like, and then I had like the idea to like, well, how do I work that into a song?
Yeah.
And like this was over the process of months or maybe a year where I would just keep coming back to it, and then at some point, um, it all just kind of came out, and it like turned into this like anti or like when I play it live, a lot of times I'm like, oh, this is a song about xenophobia,
Mm.
and so because like they should give it a listen, but it's like the ones all represent different like classes and
Mm.
casts of people, or the numbers all do, and and the message at the end of the day is like, don't be afraid,
Right.
um, because it's like that's how xenophobia works. They make you scared of things you don't that are
Yeah.
different, and
Yeah.
so but yeah, so like that's like an example of how that was like an idea that started as a like a seed, not even as a song, and then now it's a full song, and then other songs like that, um Rip to Ribbons, the one I mentioned that we were talking about
Yeah.
before this started, I wrote that like over 10 years ago about this girl that I was really into. We were long distance dating. She lived here in New York. That's like how I ended up in New York.
Mm.
And so I wrote it like when I was feeling really good about the relationship, but it was like a kind of a roller coaster of a relationship that felt a lot more like an affair, like an extramarital affair, than an actual relationship in a way, because we lived on opposite sides of the country, and when we'd
Yeah.
spend time together, it would be like in weird hotel rooms wherever, like we were in the same part of the country because I was on tour and she worked in film, so sometimes our
Yeah.
paths would just cross, and yeah, and so when that ended, I didn't like singing that song anymore because it just like
Mm.
because it hurt too much, and so I didn't play that song for almost 10 years, and then I showed it to the producer of my new record, my buddy Blake, and I was like, yeah, I think this thing needs a bridge. This is what I'm working with, but I don't know. I haven't really done anything with this song for 10 years, and he was like, no, no bridge. It's great. It's great as it is. Let's record it. He was like,
I mean,
that's
it's a good song. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of my favorites.
thank you. Yeah, that so, you know, I don't know. They're all different. The process is always different, and I'm just always like playing guitar as much as I can, trying to come up with um, new riffs and sounds and little things that I'm like gonna work into a song, while I'm also always writing lyrics. Like anything might pop
But
into
they're
my
kind
head
of
that
like a
I'm like,
separate thing, and you're kind of like being like, oh, does this fit? This fits? All right, this is a song now. Would that be a fair comparison?
yeah. Sometimes that's the case, and other times it's like I'll I'll figure out the guitar thing. I'm like, oh, I love what's happening here with this. This has to be a chorus, and so I'll just start playing it over and over and over again, and start coming up with words that are like, even kind of mumbling to myself. I heard Jeff Tweedy from Wilco say, or from Jeff Tweedy fame, say that's how he writes most of his lyrics. Is he just like kind of repeats the same little riff over and over again. He starts mumbling to himself in a way that like sounds cool with the music, and then eventually like words kind of pop out of it, and he's like, there's very rarely any real meaning behind his lyrics, but
Yeah.
people are able to like impose their own meaning on it. Mine take a lot more of like a literal shape than
Y-
his a lot of the times, because they're like stories and whatnot, but that is kind of where how I kind of find the story.
Right. Yeah. That honestly, I've tried to do his method before, but the problem is it's a real like almost like quantum approach because I'll be
Mm-hmm.
like I want to just top of the head, not think about it, just say the words, but then I can't remember what I said because I'm just, I'm too focused on just kind of vibing out. But if I
Yeah.
record it, I'm aware that I'm recording it, and it fucks up with the mind just off the top of your head because you're aware you're being recorded. So it's such a difficult approach to do that because as soon as I have something, I already forgot it. So
Yeah, yeah, I mean that's where I get caught up on a lot of songs because it's like sometimes I'll have songs that take me. I come up with like, oh, this verse and this chorus are fucking undeniable. These are
right.
fucking great. And then it's time to write verse two, and it's like, like I can't do it. And
Yeah.
so then I have,
That's why I like this.
sometimes,
Oh, go
huh?
ahead. No, go
Oh,
for it.
sometimes it takes years for me to finish that song because everything I come up with, I'm like, oh, that's stupid. That's stupid. I'm trying
Yeah.
to be much better about, I don't know, something like 5 or so years ago. I'm still telling myself this all the time with like everything I do, but like, it's like, dude, you're not like negotiating world peace here. You're writing a song.
Totally.
Don't take it all so seriously. Like and it's like important to care about what you're doing, but caring to a point where like you're tripping yourself up. Like that's an
Mm,
issue I have in almost every aspect of my life. I overthink everything and I care way more about like things to a point where sometimes I fuck things up. And that's how it
yeah.
is with writing songs is like really the best place to be is in this like like this place of like, oh, my heart or mind or soul or whatever is open. I'm like tender hearted, but I'm also like not super, like my roots aren't super deep. Kill your
Mm.
darlings, like it's
Yeah.
gonna be okay. It's just words to a melody.
Totally. And honestly, you got to remember, this is the one thing that always helps me is the fact that it's like the lyrics are not for the lyrics are for the fans.
Yeah,
People are just going to listen to the music and they're going to hear that you're singing something. And
yeah,
unless they really like what you're doing, they're not going to check out what you're saying, or maybe they can't even hear what you're saying because of, whatever effects on your voice.
yeah.
So,
Some people just don't think or care about lyrics,
yeah.
which like
And I
blows my mind because
yeah.
that's like my favorite thing about music is the words, which is weird, but
I'm definitely, funny enough, I am one of those people that I can't hear it usually, but there'll be moments when it catches me. But I do care very much about what my lyrics are. I'm always looking for what my grandfather used to say. You got to look for those $10 words. And I
yeah.
just like, it's just a string of that and just trying to make it as rich as possible.
Oh,
But,
totally.
a trick, I've done a few things where I'm like trying to help myself because I have that same problem of just being like, oh, you're spending too much time. I'll spend like years on songs because I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, that you're right with like the second verse problem where you're just like, I got a great first verse, but where is this story going? Like, yeah, I'm talking about this feeling, but why are we talking about it again in the second verse? But just that thing of like, I got one really good line, the next line can be okay.
Yeah.
It's a jumping off point to set up for another great line. It doesn't, it's a stepping stone. So you don't need to have every line be like a masterpiece of literary excellence. You're not getting a
Yeah.
Pulitzer.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have so many times. I have to tell drummers, especially new drummers that play with me, I'm like, whatever you do, please do not speed up too much because I have way too many words in my songs.
Yeah.
And if it goes sometimes even like 4 BPMs faster than the recording, I can't sing the songs. Like
Oh yeah.
I'm having to skip words because I use too
You
many
cram them in
words.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely. Have you ever had a Did you ever make a like doing writing like make a mistake and then use that as like a jumping off point for something that you ended up liking? Have you ever experienced that thing where you're just like, oh, you fucked up on a riff, and then you're just like, oh wait, that actually sounds better than what I wrote originally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's how I find a lot of things. I can't think of anything
Yeah.
specific, but like that's probably how I find a lot of the things because I think I get stuck in my ways of doing the same things, whether it's like soloing on guitar, playing like the same phrases or whatnot. But if I hear myself do something that I'm like, wait, what was that? Like,
Hmm.
why did that note work? Like
Totally.
that sounded weird and dumb and awesome, and you're like,
Totally.
so, um, yeah, but I can't think of anything specific. Like I know my song Laundromat, off my last record, not the newest one, but Honeysuckle Summer. Uh, like I, the riff to the chorus is like what I wrote first, and I was like really like into it, and then but I couldn't figure out how to turn it into a whole song.
Mm.
And then at some point I just started like playing like I was playing like some chords that went along with it, and then I remember saying, because I like something about laundromat, and then I was like, oh, laundromat, and then I knew I wanted it to be about this specific person who I actually met at that place that we played together. I don't know if it was the show I played with you there or a different show, but like this person that became an important person and then less important. Then I wrote an album about her and haven't seen her in 5 years. But
isn't that the way? Isn't that the
yeah,
way?
that's how it goes. I think she's doing great. I hope so. But yeah, so I knew I wanted it to be kind of about this thing that her and I had happened, and so yeah, it just kind of like came from there, where it was like, I don't know if laundromat was when I first started saying like you were walking to the laundromat, I was coming home from work, if that was like gonna actually be a lyric or if it was just a placeholder. And then it was just like, no, you said I got a pocket full of quarters, would you like to shoot some pool? And it's like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. That's a great first line to a song. You're walking, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Actually, that brings up another question I kind of have, was like when you're writing, because it seems like a lot of this is like personal experiences, or I'm kind of curious where the writing comes from. Is it personal? But you also have like this 6 Afraid of 7 kind of like that, which just seems like more of a topic. Like where do you find your like inspiration for a lot of your songwriting topics?
I mean, they're like, I feel like it's like there's probably a pretty simple Venn diagram that that someone could 5 foot together that would like be my song topics, like with like 3 circles probably. But a lot of times, I mean, for early on, I think I didn't ever go to therapy until I was like in my early 30s, I want to say. And so for me, songwriting was how I dealt with a lot of like childhood trauma and, relationship issues, self-esteem issues, self-medication, all sorts of things, like songwriting was kind of where I poured a lot of like my young angst that was somewhat destructive or trying to like figure out what the fuck was going on. And so I think because of that, a lot of my songs are either about like, relationship things, or like, either romantic relationships, or, like I feel like so many of my songs are mention either my father or dad or something like that, and it's like, it's definitely, I got some like daddy issues, but sometimes the story, it's like the funny part about it is like when you have as many songs out as I do at this point, it's like, like sometimes the song when you were writing it, like I have this song The Gates, which is like off the newest record, and I remember when my older sister heard it, and she was like, oh, that song, or maybe it was my friend from college, someone was just like, oh, that new song about your dad is like really, really good. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, and it does mention like the main character says like it's about him and his relationship with his dad and like religion, and but for me it was like kind of this abstract thing of like American corporatism and like its love of like money in the stock market and capitalism, versus like that's what its actual god is like the almighty dollar, versus like any sort of decent thing, any sort of moral compass. It's like really like, and so for me it was kind of like this abstract thing of like, oh, this is what America was supposed to be, this is what we were promised it was going to be. And then now that I'm growing up and like I'm like, my dad's like, oh, just trust Jesus Christ, and it's like, well, I've watched your actions my whole life and the only thing you fucking care about is like a dollar. You know what I mean? So
money.
Like, and your God is just some form of power you hold over other people. But then I like take a step back and I'm like, yeah, but it's also about my dad, so it's like,
oh God. Yeah. As much as you try to get away with storytelling, it always kind of comes back to something personal, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. You know,
Yeah.
and I mean, I have other songs that it's like I have a song called Max and Geraldine that's like not at all autobiographical. I have a lot of songs that aren't autobiographical, um but it's like it's about these characters that I, you know, made up. Max was like my neighbor growing up who was like someone I really care about, so I named one of the characters after him because he had passed away recently.
Mm.
And it's a little bit personal because like there was a time when my stepdad lost his job and moved to North Dakota to work in the oil fields there, and my mom was still in Arizona, and so like there's a little bit of that in the
Yeah.
story of that song, but the song's just like made up characters that I just put in
Right, right. But it's like pulling it the influences. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I when first started writing songs, it was definitely more like story based because I was always trying to create like a bit of an emotional barrier. But now that I'm like a lot more comfortable with writing songs, I'm definitely
Mhm.
trying to go a little bit more personal,
Yeah.
which it's a little terrifying. I'll be honest. It's a little scary to kind of just be like, hey man, just here it all is. Just lay it out for you. You know.
Yeah, totally. It's hard, but for me in a lot of ways it is kind of the one of the few ways I find that I can be my true self,
Totally.
you know, and I can like you know, because it's like, you know, even people here in New York that I've known for years and years and years, like I don't have a lot of like really close confidants that I talk about like really personal shit with.
Mm.
And so, you know, so it's like um when I'm writing songs, if I'm going through it, sometimes that's like a good place for me to be that raw, true version of myself.
Right. That's very interesting. Um, there was one thing I actually speak. You mentioned earlier about how many songs you've written. I mean, I was trying to go through some your catalog, and it's quite impressive.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
well, I'm a very slow writer, and I'm the main songwriter with the Crows, so I'm
Yeah.
it's all got to come from me.
Yeah.
And
That's a
just
lot of
trying to
pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and I'm a very slow writer. I'd be curious because your experiences with writer's block,
Hmm.
because I remember like honestly this year I have been not doing a lot of writing. I know most of it has been because I've been very busy with like just helping getting the band to be a little bit more visible and like doing all that fun promotional stuff,
Totally.
but I also was just feeling like I got nothing. I got nothing in the tank right now. So I'm very curious to see how have you've dealt with writer's block, anything you've done to kind of help yourself get out of that, you know.
There's like I've kind of accepted in a lot of ways that for me writing is, you know, like life happens in seasons.
Mm.
And you know, like I used to just spend so much time with my guitar, and I feel like when I was younger I found inspiration in so many more places because there were still new things,
Mm.
and I wasn't so beaten down by like the fucking news every day. And so you know, so like I haven't been writing a lot recently, but I also know that like it's tried and true. I've done it enough to know like, oh, I definitely haven't written the last song I've ever written.
Mm.
I've written plenty of songs that like, yeah, I might have played out at a couple shows or shared them with some friends that just kind of went to the wayside because it was like, this isn't, it's not really doing it for me. I don't, you know. And so like not being so precious with things is really important for me. And like sometimes it's either like put yourself in a place where the only thing you have to worry about is writing. Like I did a
Mm.
writing retreat upstate um, a couple winters ago, and I got like, and like that summer is when I tracked my new record. And I knew that I was going to track a record that summer. My buddy Blake and I had been talking about it for a while. I was like, okay, as soon as we figure out a time that works with both of our schedules, I'm going to make a down payment. I'm going to buy a ticket to Nashville. We're going to make this fucking record. And so I knew I was like, okay, this is going to happen later this year, and I don't have that many songs. So, but I've had ideas that have been sitting in notebooks and little voice notes and whatnot for years and years and years, and songs that I've just like abandoned because I never could find that second verse.
Mm.
And so I went upstate um, to this place called the Arts Inn that they do. Um, it's owned by artists, and they're just like really nice people, and they it was some sort of like scholarship grant that like I applied for, and I got to just go up there to stay at this bed and breakfast for like 4 days, and just me and my dog like hiking in the mountains and then writing in the morning and the evenings.
Was it
And
just you, or did you have like a writing partner at all, or?
it was just me, and
Okay.
it just gave me a chance to like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and like no distractions, just write, write and write and write. There's another thing. I never finished it, so I feel bad suggesting it. It's one of those things I plan on finishing and I need to just do. But it's called The Artist's Way
Oh
by
yes.
Julia Cameron.
I
Yeah.
I I listen to a lot of interview podcasts with like mostly comedians because
Yeah.
you know, but they're always talking. It's honestly almost like a bit at this point, but it
Totally.
is very tempting. I'm not a morning person, so the idea of first thing you do I'm like late every day to work. Everyone knows this about me that I'm always running. So the idea of being like you wake up and you journal, and I'm like I don't have time to journal. I have to clock in. So,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it's always been tempting. I've always looked at it, but I've just never made the move to try it.
it's like I got probably halfway through it, and then I got my dog as a puppy, and it just kind of threw off my mornings completely,
Oh
and
yeah.
I've never gotten back to it. But, it's one of those things, and this is more of a do as I say, not as I do.
Mm.
Like, I think part of it being a morning thing is them being like, yeah, force yourself to get up. Like, don't let that thing you have in the morning like define your whole day. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Wake up early enough to make your day about you, not that thing. Um, and I'm not a morning person or either, so I
You're a
like
musician. I'd be surprised if you were.
totally. And but the other thing is that I'm realizing, because I do, especially when I'm going through funks, or I'm like, I need some inspiration about, like, the music biz right now has me not really like, oh, I'm gonna quit kind of bummed, but just very like, I'm just burned out, and like I don't want to fucking make TikTok videos or reels, like like it's just like I'm like I don't know what the end goal is with my music career anymore, because like even bands I look up to are struggling financially,
Mm.
and and they're all in places I've never even come close to, and I'm almost 20 years into this.
Yeah.
So sometimes I get really like, I don't even know what the fucking end goal is anymore. And and
I
so
definitely feel that.
yeah, it's
We're in a bit of a weird place myself. Like I've been doing. That's honestly what I've been doing. Is like we got a little bit of attention with our song "Bad Medicine," and then
mhm.
like I was like I'll try the TikTok thing. I like TikToks. I've got an idea for what I'm gonna do, so let's do it. But now it's like we're getting more attention and stuff like that, which is great. But it's also like I'm not seeing the money. Where's the bag and all of it? Like you're looking down the road, and like what you're saying is like even the bigger bands are like struggling hard, and you're like, oh, what am I walking? What am I walking off a cliff? Is that where I'm
Yeah.
going right now?
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing, or it's like, or am I setting myself up to where I just have to make 30-second videos every day
Mm.
for the rest of my fucking life instead of write
You're an influencer instead of a
3-minute
musician.
songs? Like, yeah. And so, but so like I've always liked um certain forms of like self-help books,
Mm.
and like especially some of like the classics, like How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Mm.
And I just listened to one called like the magic of thinking big. And
Mm.
what I love about those books, especially because they were written so long ago, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, I want to say was written in the 30s or the 40s or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
maybe. Um and so like being able, because it's so old, like there's certain things that just are said, it's like, yeah, we don't talk like that anymore, we don't, or like uh it's easy for me to like not throw the baby out with the bathwater, like pick and choose the things that like, oh, this is helping me right now in my situation. And it's
Mm-hmm.
nice to just have like this fucking voice reading to me. It's like, hey, maybe you should be nicer to yourself in your own head, and being like, yeah, that's a good idea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Totally,
but then
totally.
when they're like, oh, but you should always never leave your house without looking like $1 million, and I'm just like, Yeah, sometimes I wake up and I look like shit and I gotta take my dog out so he doesn't shit on the floor. You know
You
what
got
I
to be
mean?
in a
It's like,
three-piece suit
yeah,
every
no,
time you
totally.
walk out the
Yeah,
door.
exactly, because it's like the fucking 40s. And so, no, and that's like with the artist way thing. I think even if you were to like, okay, I'm not going to do this in the mornings. That's just not
Yeah.
where I'm at. And I'm just not that person. But I know I can find 30 minutes at some point throughout the day. I think it wants you to do it 7 days a week, but like, fuck, 3 days a week's better than zero,
Yeah,
you know?
it's that idea of it's like at least you're doing something, you know?
Totally. And I'm always like, I grew up playing sports and like relatively serious. I mean, as serious as high school sports get, but like, and so there was a lot of perfection demanded of me. And a lot of times I demand that of myself. And I'm trying to find a way to like, the classic, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Like, don't, you know, maybe you'll find that perfect line for the second verse, but like it's better to have a second verse than to not have anything because you haven't got the perfect line.
I mean, I have a friend. He was the one who got me into music. He was such a brilliant guitar player, but he kept having the issue of like, oh, it's not perfect, you know?
Yeah.
Like he never released an album. Like I've
Yeah.
known him. He's been playing music longer than I have, and
I know so many people like that.
he's never released an album. And now he's just like every time I talk to him, it's like, oh yeah. Well, now he's got a kid and a wife and all that stuff, and he's got a house. So it's like other priorities come in the way. But he's always talking about making that album, and I'm always like, okay, man, sure, eventually.
Yeah, no,
But
that's real. And I'm always trying to tell people. I have so many friends that I meet that are, kind of like that or that I've known for a long time, and I'm always trying to be like as encouraging and like, yeah, just do it. Just do it.
yeah,
It's like if you put out a song, I mean, I can't tell you how many songs I have out that I'm like every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, I would do so many things different
yeah.
about this. But also, this was 2012. So, like, I could barely play 6 chords at that point, you know?
it's
And
it's
so,
it's funny. I haven't been playing music very long, relatively speaking. As like the Crows is like the main and only band I've really been like.
cool.
It's a real thing. So like that first record is a lot of my first songs I've ever written is off that record. So it's like there's so much stuff off that thing where I'm like, oh, I could have done so much better stuff now. I've learned so
Totally.
much, and especially
mean,
just moving to New York at the time, and
yeah.
like
Well, moving to New York and then, like a part of me wishes I had moved to New York younger and earlier in my career so I had like seen and experienced less so I'd have been a little bit more outgoing when I first moved here. And not that I wasn't, but I think, a younger version of me probably could have capitalized on New York City a lot more than someone who'd toured the country a handful of times and, done some things, gotten
Yeah.
a little bit of attention and whatnot. But that also is like, oh, if I moved to New York City at age like 22, I'd be dead. Like I'd be dead right now, because I was just such an idiot with like everything, whether it's like
totally.
alcohol and drugs or just doing dumb things. It's like, yeah, I would have died for sure. So
Oh,
it's like
that's so
it's
funny.
actually really a blessing.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
but that's also like kind of why I like the self-help books, as ridiculous as some of them are, and they're all like, so many of them say the same things, and it's not the only thing I do or I read or listen to, but sometimes when I'm like in a funk, it is kind of because like all those like little rules. I think I heard a comedian on a podcast, Pete Holmes, say something about this, like where he's like, yeah, all my life people told me to make my bed in the morning, and I was like, yeah, whatever, and then I started making my bed in the morning, and it was like made a difference in my overall life, not the Jordan Peterson way, but you're just like, there's like these little things that like, yeah, that's why they have you do that in the military. So like, you don't have these, I call them leaky faucets or things in the back of your mind that are just kind of scrambling your overall bandwidth and taking up space, little things
Yeah.
like that. And it's like, how you do anything is how you do everything. So like, if you're gonna
I can see your
make
bed's made. Your bed's made back there.
Yeah, I mean, I make it like 3 times a day because my dog, when he wants to take a nap, will like shift
Just-
the covers, and so I have to make it a lot. But
Yeah, that's funny.
And I'm not like a super cleanly person, but I try and be like really intentional about things. At least when I'm in a good headspace. Like, oh, if I'm gonna be chopping this onion, like let's like be here chopping this onion right now. Like, yeah, I'm listening to a podcast, but like let's instead of just like crudely chopping it up because I'm like if I'm gonna cook a meal, let's like
Do it
go
right.
through the motions and like do it right, because that stuff kind of bleeds over into everything.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you know what? This is a good stopping point for now, and we're gonna switch over to the performance section of our
Oh, cool.
channel. So if you want to get that set up, I will take draw focus while you're doing that. Yes. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Thank you for sticking around to the Crow's Nest. Been hanging out with Charles Ellsworth, who has actually just released a new record, Cosmic Cannon Fodder, which is out now on Spotify and all your favorite streaming services. So, how you doing over there? That's okay. We can take our time. Yes, I've been John from the Upstart Crows. If you're interested in learning more about my band, all links are in our profiles. We also have a Discord channel as well as a Patreon that love to get some support because, as we were saying earlier, there's not a lot of money in this game, and we need all the help we can get. All right. Are you ready? All right, here we go.
Okay, this one's called Rip to Ribbons. Before I go, I need to know what it is that makes you tick. Makes you want or makes you thirst. Please tell me all of it. I've been shooting in the dark, trying to find lessons behind these scars. Most times the math comes out to picking up and moving on. Spent a summer on the road trying to rid you from my bones. Bar to bar in rusted cars, driving up and down the coast. Boston's just like Vegas if you don't leave the hotel. In those days I spent with you, I swear to God, the time stood still. But I know there's so much more to you than what you're letting on. If you're scared of what you're feeling, well, you're not the only one. I've been ripped to ribbons, torn apart each time I fell in love. And every minute since is just more bricks on walls that I've put up. And there's so much more to me than what I'm letting on. Oh, I'll do my best to open up if you promise not to run. I'm not asking for forever, some ridiculous thing like that. Just a chance to see where this could go. I got a feeling it could last. Balanced on a beam wall, pulling on a tug of war. My stomach turned like a washing machine when you walked back through that door. Someone else had took my confidence, but high up on a shelf had me second guessing everything I thought I knew about myself. I know there's so much more to you than what you're letting on. If you're
you're scared of what you're feeling, well, you're not the only one. I've been ripped to ribbons, torn apart each time I fell in love. And every minute since is just more bricks on walls that I've put up. And there's so much more to me than what I'm letting on. I'll do my best to open up if you promise not to run. I'm not asking for forever, some ridiculous thing like that, just a chance to see where this could go. I got a feeling it could last.
Woo!
Thank you.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Do you got one more for us, or?
Yeah, I could do one more if we got time.
I mean, I got all the time. It's more whatever. You got enough gas. I will say the chat has been wanting to see your guitar. If you want to bring that into camera. Oh, it's a Gretsch.
Yeah, this is my Penguin parlor guitar. I wanted a parlor guitar, and then I saw this one, and then when I saw it came in pink, I was like, well, I gotta get the pink one. So
parlor guitar. I'm not familiar with that.
Just like the shape, it's like a smaller guitar, you know.
Oh.
I was gonna play my Martin, but I have new strings on it, and the microphone I'm using like really picks up those high pitched squeaks and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, this will be better because they're like older strings.
Gotcha. So what are you gonna play for us next?
I will do The Gates. This is also off the new record. Outside my door, and I hate to leave my room. Sometimes I get drunk on the porch with the boys from the second floor, and their laughter brings me back to my old glory days. Life was just football games, dragging Maine and fucking off all night long. But now I work all night and I sleep all day, 'cause rent's so goddamn hard to make. Somehow I find a way to get it paid. I keep working more and getting less. I'll work like this until I'm dead and rest when I'm inside the pearly gates, those pearly gates. My folks had 2 and I made 3. Daddy, he left right after me with his hat on fire and his wandering eyes made the neighbor's daughter his child bride. She got big and he went straight. Now they're both at church every Sunday. Loves them all like a second chance. Me and my family ain't worth looking back. And that home my father left us in reached to hell and back again. Somehow we found a way to sustain. And from high upon his righteous hill to my graveyard shifts down at the mill, does he watch just inside white picket gates, white picket gates. I called him once for his advice. Put your faith in Jesus Christ. Light the path and he'll not lead you astray. Now I'm grown and I see the truth. Their God's their power over you. You don't buy in, they ain't got shit. And my father's God don't care one bit about me, the meek, the mute, the blind, or the working poor. If you give him just a little bit, well, he'll always want more. And so we work all night and we work all day. Rent's so goddamn hard to make. Somehow we find a way to get it paid.
keep working more and getting less, we'll work like this until we're dead and rest when we're inside the pearly gates. Yeah, we work all night and we work all day, 'cause rent's so goddamn hard to make. Somehow we find a way to get it paid. If we keep working more and getting less, we'll stop putting up with all of it. We'll come for them after we tear down the gates. Tear down the gates.
Woo! Yeah. Oh, that was so good.
Thanks so much.
Someone was commenting that it reminded them of Joel from The Last of Us. kind of cowboy vibes.
I'll take it. I'm into it. I've only played the Last of Us video game, so I don't know the show, but
I'm the same. I played the video games. I was like, well, they're basically just gonna cover the same stuff. I did catch like a couple episodes just because I know that they did some different things with like, what's that guy you meet in that one town, and he's got like the boyfriend, and they made it had Ron Swanson play.
Oh, really? Nick Offerman?
Yes, yeah, he plays. Yeah, he plays that character. But anyways, no, that was very good. Oh God, it just pulls me back to visiting my family in Kentucky. So that's the kind of shit my grandfather listens to. Very cowboy stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So
but anyways,
grandpa's stamp of approval.
Oh God, exactly. Yeah, just hanging out in his trailer park in Kentucky, listening to old country music.
Hell
Can't
yeah.
be beat.
Sounds like a great time.
Oh yeah. So you said that both those songs, I'm pretty sure, were both off of your latest record.
Yeah.
Cosmic Cannon Fodder came out last May.
Uh-huh.
Now I kind of want to delve into, recording is scary, especially for new people. I'm curious about your process. First off, do you record your own music or do you go to a studio?
I've always gone to a studio.
Okay, so you're not like I know a lot of musicians learn to mix and master because it seems cheaper, but honestly, that seems so intimidating. I'm with you. Or just go somewhere else. And
I just know there's people that are like way more efficient and have, usually I like to work with a producer and, usually a producer who also engineers, and usually it's like someone who I trust or I've specifically chosen to work with because I'm like, oh, together we'll make a cool record. And I
how do you determine who to go
feedback.
with? Oh, sorry.
I mean, it kind of just really depends. Like early on, it was my buddy Vincent Draper that I mentioned earlier. His bandmate at the time, and our friend Ty Stedman, who is a dear friend. He like had a studio and produced like my very early stuff because he was able to give me like cut rates on it and whatnot, and so that was like always great to like work with him and kind of bounce ideas back and forth. And then I worked with my friend Bob Hogue on my next record, which was called Caesarea, and that came out in 2017. So that would have probably been somewhat new when I first met you. Yeah. And Bob is in Arizona, and my old band Alaska and Me had made a record with him. And so when I kept playing music, and that was kind of a goal to like, I want to make a solo record with Bob. And so I did that, and that was a great experience. And then, it's just kind of been like, I've got some songs ready, like for the next record, Honeysuckle Summer. Sometimes I'll just book some studio time with like my buddy Wes in Salt Lake City. That's where I've done a lot of singles or like EPs where I'm like, I'm coming to town, I've got some extra time and some extra money. Wes, let's like record some stuff, and I'll have some friends come through.
So you don't do a lot of recording in the city, I'm assuming. It sounds like a lot of that stuff is outside the city.
In New York? No, I've actually never recorded anything in New York City other than some stuff with my friend Matt White. I don't even know if it's on the internet anymore.
Oh.
But yeah, like I always, like I made a record in Philadelphia, Honeysuckle Summer. That was cool because I met Joe Reinhardt, the guitarist from Hop Along, at a show in Salt Lake City
Oh.
like forever ago, like 2017, I want to say, something like that. I
Uh-huh.
met him. Maybe it was even no, it was probably 2018 or 2019, and I had this record of songs I had been working on, and I just like we chatted very briefly, like as I was watching them play. I knew Hop Along, I knew their songs, but I didn't know them that well. It was like one of those things. I was in Salt Lake City. I know the guy who owns the venue, and so I was like, "Hey, dude, any chance you could get me in?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got you plus four, And so I was like, "Oh, cool." So I got some friends in and just like watched that show, and it just blew my mind. It was kind of like I
Hop
was like,
Along's amazing.
dude, they're so good. And it was, when you like kind of know a band and then you see them live and then they become your favorite band. And
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
that's like how that was for me, where it's like I saw them and was like, holy shit, not only is this band amazing, like I want to become friends with everyone in this band. And then like that night briefly met Joe. It was just like, dude, great show. And, I think we were outside smoking a cigarette together or something. And then my friends in Salt Lake were like, oh, you should check out some of Chuck's music. And I was pretty drunk and stoned. I was very crossfaded. I was like, oh, no, don't do that, because I'm always like, I don't want to be the guy that's like always like, oh, check out my stuff,
Yeah, totally.
But then I started obsessing over Hop Along, listened to like nothing but that for like months. And then when I was writing, like during that time, I was writing a lot of the songs that ended up on Honeysuckle Summer. And so I was like, I just shot Joe an email and was like, hey, we met at a show in Salt Lake City. I don't know if you remember me, but I really want to make a new record, and I'd love to make it with you if possible. And like he emailed me back, and it was like, dude, this sounds dope. Like I totally remember you. Let's do it. And I remember it being like at like a really low. I was like just struggling, like having a really tough time mental health wise, and I was also like taking a break from alcohol that ended up being like an extended break for like 2 or 3 years, and so just kind of like really needing a win. And I remember getting that email from him being like, hell yeah, like this is awesome. Just like one of those days that was just like, oh my God. And so yeah, we made that record, and like day 3 in his studio in Philadelphia, Philly and New York shut down because of COVID. Like we had like 10 days in the studio booked, and on day 3 it like shut down. But
oh no.
yeah,
well, I mean, what's the stop? You're already there. You're close to proximity.
That's
just
exactly
go to the
what
studio.
we did.
Oh,
Joe
you
was
did?
just like, yeah, he was like, well, you guys are staying here. You're not going anywhere, and I'm only going to my apartment. So like, why don't you just want to stay here and finish this record? I was like, fuck yeah. So that was like a cool thing for the first week of like lockdown. I was like in a studio, and at night was like writing parts that we would record the next day, or I was like practicing. So I was just not even looking at my phone, just in the studio for like the first week of lockdown. Like
It's basically a real cabin moment, what we were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. And then similar thing with the new record. I played, there's this amazing bar in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Mercury Lounge, actually same as the one here in Manhattan.
Really?
Yeah, but this one is like a like honky tonk type bar, but it's like they do music 7 nights a week. Sometimes they have 2 shows in a day, and it's like I think they have a neon sign that says like no racists, no homophobes, no transphobes, no assholes.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Hell
like,
yeah, dog.
It's a country bar, but it's like fucking the coolest people, so accepting of like all kinds of human beings. It's just like
Real
I love
country.
that bar. Yeah, it's like I love that bar, and I've been lucky enough to like open for some really cool artists there when I went through, and I opened for Sarah Shook and the Disarmers in 2022 or something, and became friends with their guitarist Blake. We just kind of hit it off, and then I had him on my podcast that is currently on hiatus, but I had him on, and after just talking about like our music tastes and all this stuff we loved growing up, I was like, dude, we have to make a record together. Like we have like I don't know, he's just like one of those people that we've very rarely spent a lot of time together other than when we were making that record. But every minute I feel like I hang out with him, we just become even better friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he's just like, he played all the drums, all the bass, a lot of the guitars, keys on the record. Like he's just one of those dudes that's like, okay, well, let's track drums, and so here you hit record, and what do you think of that? I'm like, oh, well, let's do this and this different, you know. And he's the shit. He's the best.
It sounds like it's very, very much a real collaboration when it comes to your like recording process.
Yeah, totally. Because I don't have a band to like write with. You know, like Honeysuckle Summer, I wrote with. Like I had the songs written, and then my buddy Jared, who played bass on that record, he and I kind of like turned them into band songs together, and then even more so in the studio. But that's part of why I like working with a producer that I know, because like. One, I only have specific, or like I'm working with a producer that I trust, and like I'm like, oh, I like their taste, because like if I book studio time, I'm like, well, I gotta finish this thing because I only have so much time, and I can't just keep booking more time.
Right.
And so that forces me to finish it, and I wouldn't finish anything if I did it myself. And also, I am at a point where I need that feedback because I write the songs, I write the melodies, I write the lyrics, I write everything, and it's good to like when we're turning it into a record, have someone whose taste I really like appreciate and trust, and getting their ideas back, you know. And that's like the thing about a great producer is they'll always be like, at least my buddy Bob used to say this, and I think this is the producer relationship I aim for, is like they will tell you what they think, like if they think something they don't like it, or something should be different, but at the end of the day it's your record, so if you're gonna call, you get to call the shot if it's like, no, we're gonna do it this way, you know. And usually a good producer would be like, okay, cool, it's your record, you know, this is what I think, but like, and that's how a collaboration should work too, is like,
oh well, yeah, I mean, most of the, like, I would say I bring a lot of the meat and, you know, the meat and potatoes of a song. And then me and my bandmate Forrest, who plays bass in the band, he was originally the drummer actually, but we got a different drummer, so now because he played both. That's how we split the record originally. Was he did bass and drums, and I did guitar and vocals.
Oh, cool.
But when we were doing our
piece when I saw you,
yes, we were.
Yeah.
And now we're a 3-piece. We're slowly evolving.
Sick. Yeah, hell yeah.
I well, you know, I was a big White Stripes fan back in the day, so I was like, oh, that's all you need, man. And then I was like, oh no, my songs are not written like White Stripes songs, so we need a bass player. So, and that's his first instrument, so
cool.
He's originally a bass player, but it's very much like kind of how you have your relationship with your producer. It's kind of how I have with Forrest, where it's very like I'll bring some ideas. Obviously, it's a lot more like, no, that's a dumb idea, we should not do that.
Yeah.
Instead of the, hey, it's your song, man. It's like very like, no, man.
It can become combative.
Not too bad. Like most of the time when if I'm confident in something, I will fight back. But usually by the time I'm like presenting it, it's also like I've kind of ironed out all the ideas I like, and then I've left a bunch of holes that like, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Well, and that's also great because that's why I like writing with my friend Jared, who did a lot of the stuff on Honeysuckle Summer. Is like, he plays a lot of heavy, like riffy, like almost metal music. Like most of the bands he plays in are much heavier than what I play, and so having someone who's like gonna be like, yeah, maybe we should throw this pentatonic riff in there, it's like, cool, you know, because I love that shit, but I don't usually write with that in mind, you know.
Right on. Yeah. Was there, speaking, just since we're talking about the current project as well, is there, I'm always fascinated to see, because albums nowadays just kind of seem like a strange, almost like an artifact in a weird way. Do you find that are you just, when you're making an album, is there a consistent theming? Is it literally just a bunch of songs that you put together because they were all written around the same time? What is your like relationship with the album? You know, like this album. Like, is there a consistent theme of something with Cosmic Cannon Fodder?
Yeah, with this one, what's interesting about it is, you know, so many of them like were just written at different time periods. You know, most of them were written after I put out Honeysuckle Summer, so it's like they were, you know, between 2021 and 2023 or 24 when we tracked this record. And so a lot of them were written then, but some of them were written years prior or whatnot. You know, like I booked that studio time, and I had It's like, well, I have X amount of songs ish. You know, I like listed out all the ideas I had, and like 2 weeks before I went into the studio, I just kind of made sure my calendar was clean to make sure, like, okay, these 15 song ideas that I have that are mostly done or kind of done, I'm gonna make sure those are all done, and then I'll whittle that down to like, oh, I think we recorded 13 songs during that session or those sessions, and 11 of them made the record, and so it was interesting to like, that was the first time that it wasn't like, oh, I wrote all these songs during this time period and most of it has to do with like this relationship, this job, and or you know what I mean? It was like, this is kind of what this record's about, and so the themes kind of come from me doing carpentry work or, you know, whatever the job I was doing at that time. And this one was kind of like, oh, these are kind of all pulled from these different areas. And so when I was trying to find like, is there a theme, or is this just like here's just some songs I wrote, you know? That's kind of how I felt when I went into the studio. And now that's part of why I named it Cosmic Cannon Fodder, is like, that was a line in the title track. I just didn't know if I was going to name the record that when I wrote that song, but it kind of was like, because that song specifically, and a handful of the songs were inspired by or about like family members or friends that I've lost in the past however many years, you know, since the last record came out. And it's kind of that whole, like, you know, sometimes it feels like nothing, there's no, like, nothing means anything, you know? It's like, we're just all chaos, you know? Like, the Big Bang happened, and for billions of years, shit's just been, like, fucking spinning around and going fucking nuts in space, and somehow, like, now here I am, and it's like, and I'm fucking hungry, and I'm depressed, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to be alive anymore, you know what I mean?
Right,
like,
totally.
And you're like...
And you still gotta pay taxes.
Yeah, and I gotta pay taxes. I gotta have a fucking job. You know what I mean? And it's like, because my parents fucked. You know, like, it's like, and so, and like, for me to try and like, sometimes it's good for me to try and turn things on their head and like, it's like, oh well, you know, it's like, yeah, I'm here and I gotta find community and I gotta find love and I gotta find connection with people, and like, instead of being like, oh, this is all meaningless, it's like, well, the crazy thing is, in all of that, we find that, you know, we do find these things with people that, you know, who you fall madly in love with, whether it's platonic or like romantic. You have, you know, that song Cosmic Cannon Fodder was partially inspired by my aunt who like died of cancer, and like and it was just kind of like this, you know, she worked and saved up to like retire, and like and then, you know, had a few years of a great retirement, and then got cancer, and like just was in a lot of pain for a few years, and
oh, Jesus.
You know, she stuck around for much longer than they said she would, but like it was, and I was always amazed at like how well she was handling everything, and like how you didn't really notice until the end that it was like, oh, this has been taking a really hard toll on her, you know. And so I don't know, it's like the record has all this meaning, even though it's the weird thing of like, when we hit record on the first track of the first song that day in Nashville, I thought these were just like a bunch of random songs I wrote, you know. And then now, like, listening to the whole record, it's like, oh man, this is about so much. This is about, it's like, even in the studio, I was like, oh, this is like my anti-fascist, like, Tom Petty record, you know. It's like, it's still got like love songs and pop songs, but there's also a handful of songs that are very adamantly like reflective of like the bullshit that's been going on the past several years in politics, or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
It's kind of like that's kind of an interesting perspective, because I feel like we always get a little tricked by, we always assume that all these artists are like the machinations, like almost Machiavellian master plan of like, oh, the record will have all of these connections, and this song is going to connect to this thing and that way. And it's like, you know, maybe that was decided afterwards. You know, maybe they just put the record together because they liked all those songs together, and then, oh, look at this coincidence, and like, oh, well, you're the one writing this song, so all of you is in these songs, and that's kind of the through line between, all of them. They're always going to connect a little bit because they're all from your perspective.
Totally. Yeah. I think I used to be really afraid of writing songs that sounded like people I listened to too much. Like when
I get that.
And I definitely did that when I was early on, because I was listening to nothing but like Townes Van Zandt and Jason Isbell, and like I think you can hear that in a lot of my early songs. But even still, I'm like, oh, these are just my songs. It's like, it's very obviously me, because I'm also no longer like taking direct inspiration from people as often as I used to.
Yeah.
It's much more of like my inspiration comes from a lot of lived experiences where you've had time to like mine these memories of like, what did that mean? Or what you know what I mean? Like, oh,
totally.
this weird day at the river with my family way back in the day. Like, what's the little memory of that? There's like pictures of me and my cousin that I'm picturing right now, and it's like, oh, I remember these trees that had fallen across the river and moss growing on the top of the trees. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on that moss on the top of the tree. And that's where my first verse is coming from. And who knows what the fuck else comes from there. But it's all coming from like this childhood experience that I don't remember that memory. Like I remember that day. I don't have specific memories of anything that happened, but I remember being in the woods with my cousins. And I remember like, because like there's pictures of it, I don't know, that weird thing about memory.
You have a memory, but you also have physical proof of it, so your memory kind of tries to like fill the gaps of like
it's like tied to like something, but it's also still like I have no fucking idea, like 2 words that we said to each other during that whole weekend camp with my cousins.
But that one shot in your brain is still stuck there.
Yeah,
and
like, I can draw emotion from like the moss on the tree, because it's like, oh, that's a great detail to like fit into a lyric that puts the listener in your shoes.
Right. 100%. Oh, that's a good point. So actually, I've got a little bit of a change, but I'm curious for, this is just coming out. As every artist knows, everybody wants to know what's coming up next, and I don't want to know what you got working on now, but I want to know if there is any, dream, any collaboration. As artists, we're always like looking at our heroes and stuff like that. And like, honestly, it sounds like you kind of got to achieve that with Hop Along. But I'm curious if there's any collaboration or dream projects in the future you would love to. Who would you like to work with? Because it seems like you work with a lot of interesting people. Is there anyone on your bucket list?
Yeah, there's a handful of people that I'd love to work with. Jonathan Wilson is a producer I'd love to make a record with. I love his solo stuff, and there's like a lot of records that he's made that I like throughout the years. I like went back and was like, oh, I didn't realize he made that record, or he would produce that record. And so he's definitely on that list. And I mean, to do a co-write with like Brandy Carlisle, holy shit.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? Like talk about just one of the greatest songwriters of our generation, like
totally.
Man, Brandy
I'd
Carlisle.
Be so intimidated. I'll be honest.
That's also the thing, is like doing a co-write with Brandy Carlisle, like having her critique one of my songs would probably be more the vibe. You know what I mean? Because it's like, because I don't know if I'd ever feel like I'm on the level.
Totally. I mean, there's a artist that I really like, and a lot of our fans are like, they kind of came through this artist named Will Wood, cool. And they're always like, you should do something with him, and I'm like, this guy's freaking brilliant. I don't know. I'd be so intimidated to like, hey man, here's my 4-chord song I wrote, and while you create these elaborate orchestrations.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, at the end of the day though, I think it's really important to keep in mind, like, they're also just people. Like, even some of the most, because like with the work I do, I've driven people around in my van that it's like, holy shit, I can't believe so-and-so's in the back of my van right now. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, they're just like people. And, like, luckily I've never met someone I looked up to that then I was like, that person sucks. They say
Oh,
don't
that's
meet your
good.
heroes. I've never really had that problem or that experience. And so, I think at least like working with what was so fun about like working with someone like Joe, who I'm like, obviously intimidated by, look up to a lot, think he's just like fucking great, and was like his enthusiasm for it, and just seeing how his brain works. Like I love observing someone else being creative or getting in the zone, and like me and the band are tracking in the live room, and sometimes we're like really struggling to get a take of a song because we hadn't really practiced a lot. The drummer who was supposed to play on the record dropped out like a month before we made that record, so at last minute I'm like trying to get some drummer on the same page, and Joe's like, oh, let's do it again, and then like at some point, like I remember he just runs in the live room and just like, guys, we fucking did it, and he's like, I mean, he's just such
You need that enthusiasm.
Yeah, totally. And even on long days, and it's always positive. That's something, because sometimes I can just be a real negative Nancy. Usually it's only in my own head, so other people don't notice it. But something I look up to someone who even on a long day can just be like, dude, you fucking nailed it. That's awesome. Like he's like the guy that you want your friend's older brother who introduced you to punk rock and skateboarding. You like hoped he grew up to be, and like Joe is that guy.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he's also fucking brilliant,
Yeah.
So it's like, oh cool, I get to hang out with this amazing cool person who's making my record way better than I could ever even imagine to make it on my own. And so that's really dope.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit when we're making music and stuff like that, I try to be the most positive person, but I am very easily like influenced by the energy of everyone else. Where I'm like, let's keep it going. But if there's one person negative, I'm like, it shakes the confidence a little bit. But yeah, no, having somebody in the room that's just like loving the vibe, and that's a dream. That's a dream right there. That's
totally
a great collaborator.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. Sorry. In my experience, I find that 9 times out of 10, if you're like, people are going to pick a session player or someone to come on tour with them who they know is like going to be fun to be around for 2 weeks in a studio or in a van or whatever. Even it's like, they may not be as good of a bass player as so-and-so, but so-and-so has a couple beers and starts becoming kind of a dick,
Totally.
Like that. And it's like, and you're like, I'm always going to choose the dude who's just like a better hang than the dude who's a better bass player and a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah, no, it's like you could be the greatest, bass player in the world, but if you're an asshole, I don't want to hang out. We're gonna be spending 24 hours together, or like, you're gonna be like 12 hours in the studio. I don't want to be hanging out with that guy for that long. I'd rather.
Totally.
It's also, my view is also with like, you can be really good, but if like, I'd rather have the person who's more dedicated than talented too. Where it's like, if you're willing to like put in the work, I'll take someone who's not as good as long as you're like excited and like want to be involved and like, is engaged.
Totally. I mean, I learned that at an early age. Like that's one of the things that sports taught me, because like in my hometown, there just wasn't a lot to do. So like I got really into playing football and baseball.
Oh, really?
And I also did music and snowboarding, but it was like, that was like football and baseball were like my activities that kept me from like going to juvenile detention. And so, and I was never like the best athlete. I wasn't the worst, but I'm never going to be the dude who's like the best athlete on the field. But I always knew like, oh, if I like show up every day and I'm like trying to learn how to be really good and I'm working really hard, like by the time I was a senior, it's like, oh, I'm one of the best people on the team and one of the best people in the state at my position because I showed up and like wanted to learn and worked hard. And like talent will only take you so far. And some of the most talented people I've ever met are also the laziest and the shittiest to be around.
Untapped potential is a proverb. It's so common. It's nothing special. Talent is nothing. Is not worth anything. So. Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. We're almost to 2 hours, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I do have some more questions. You could definitely tell me that you're like, I'm tired. Let me get off. But
I
I
think
just
we should call it at 10 because I got to take
yeah.
my dog to Queens because I fly out at like 7 a.m.
Oh, geez. Okay. Then we'll get this a little bit wrapped up. Yeah, I guess things seem to be going well. You're playing a lot of shows. You got this great record that just came out. I'm kind of just curious. What do you got for the interview question? It's like, what do you got going for your 5-year plan? Like, where do you see this project going? Do you have any major goals? Anything you're trying to really accomplish? Or things that you're like aiming for right now?
That's actually a really good question because that's something I've been asking myself a lot lately. Like my ex-girlfriend, we broke up in November of last year, and so at some point before we broke up, she wrote on like this whiteboard I have over here, like, what are my goals? Like, no, seriously, what are my goals? Because it was like trying to get me to shake out of a funk I was in, and it's still up there, and I never wrote down any fucking goals, because I'm in this weird place music wise where like I said, I don't know what the end goal is. And so, right now it's really like I'm kind of determined to like figure out how to get all the music that I've made up to this point out to more people. Because like that's like a problem I'm running into is like I've had like a core of dedicated fans for a long time, and like a lot of my fans have more t-shirts than they have closet space for, you know what I mean? Like, because they bought a t-shirt every time I've come through on tour, but I haven't gained new fans in 5 years, like they've trickled in, but like,
yeah. Do you have any type? Oh, no worries. Do you have any type of if you don't mind me asking, any type of like representation, like manager, agent, label, any of that kind of stuff, or are you just completely DIY?
I mean, I have like a label, but it's like me and my friend own it, and it's like
Gotcha.
a label. Like, I mean, it's like a real record label, but mostly we put out some of my friends' records that, some of them that were like, oh, we love your songs, but you're never gonna come up with $1,500 to press vinyl, so we'll figure that out for you and try and make our money back. But if not, at least you got a record to sell on tour now.
Totally.
So. But I've like worked with some people as managers throughout the years or booking agents, but it's always usually been a disappointment, and like me, it's never been someone who could bring me up to another level. And I think, and it's, so.
And in what way do you like? What do you mean? Like, what they promise things they couldn't keep, or? I'm curious. Personally, I'm curious about this stuff because we're looking for managers and representation. So I'm always,
Usually it's been like a friend or someone I know that's like on a similar level of the music industry that I'm on, that they're like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I think I could book tours. I want to get into booking. Let me help you book tours. And it's like, cool. I'll show them the ropes, tell them like, hey, this is how you do it. And then inevitably, and yeah, I've done this even with like a booking agent who like approached me and wanted to work with me. And so, so they were like more established, but like what always ends up happening is like, I end up 2,000 miles from home and no shows to get me back home. And and because it's like not their problem, they never booked the shows, you know what I mean? And now it's my problem and I'm like fucking stranded. And so, so it's like hard to, trust other people for that type of thing. And so, yeah, I don't know that I don't want to be such a bummer. So like for me, the goals really is just like, okay, how do I start reaching more people? How do I have this great catalog of stuff? I have all these stories. I have all these experiences, these things that I've done. And I think it's really interesting. And I think that there's people out there that would find it interesting and enjoy it. How do I find those people? That's where I'm at right now. Is like, I think I'm going to put more effort into my YouTube channel because I'm like, oh, I'd rather be posting to YouTube and not thinking about the attention it gets than like Instagram.
That's
like,
fair.
I like the YouTube algorithm more because like I go on YouTube and I'm like, I get to see my weird interests, which is like guitar repair and like weird sports clips and fly fishing, and you know what I mean. It's not like I I open the Instagram app and it's like I see all of the horrible shit happening across the world and in our country. You know what I mean? Like all it's just like I'm just constantly reminded of like, God damn it, we live in a fucking waking nightmare. And so I can't put my effort into Instagram.
It's very funny because like I feel that way about like the way you feel about YouTube. Ironically, I feel that way about TikTok. Like I really like the TikTok app. Maybe it's just my ADD kind of brain where I'm just like I like the quick kind of turnaround of content, but it just like it's like you spend so much time on a platform, you kind of figure out how to make it work. And luckily we did have seen. I found a trick that kind of works for us, which is like
that's awesome.
Those like mini music videos, because it's still a little bit more creative, but it's something I can release on a frequency and stuff like that. But
totally, and
we're all just chasing that game.
Yeah, and like I just like longer form content. I'm like
totally.
I went to film school. Like that's like I don't think in 30 seconds to a minute. I don't watch a lot of reels or TikToks. So I'm very much more like one of the things I'm gonna try and do is start like maybe once a month put out a music video for one of my songs, whether it's one of the new records or one of the old records, and it's like me being like, okay, this is what I can afford. This month I'm making $150 on my Patreon, so my $150 my budget for this month's music video is $150. Like that sort of thing, and try and kind of be kind of transparent with it, and then I get to be creative and
I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now.
Really?
Like the thing I'm doing on TikTok are mini music videos. I'm literally filming if you look at our song Pray, and it works very well with the song Pray because it has a beginning, middle, and end. So, but we're basically, I filmed the whole thing, and then I cut up verses and choruses, and then I'll just post those randomly. I'll show it to you. I could show it to you afterwards.
Oh, that'd be cool, because I'm wanting to be able to
because it still feels creative.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to think in like 30 seconds to minute increments. Like I got out of college and I worked as an editor, and I worked on a lot of corporate like commercials and stuff like that, and like I always hated trying to fit like a commercial into 30 seconds because I'm just like, and so but that's where I'm like, I know the things that I want to do on long form content, I can also like just chop it up and be like, oh, here you go Instagram, here you go TikTok, but like my goal is the 5 or 10 minute video, not the 30-second video, because my brain works better that way.
Yeah, unfortunately I'm not a filmmaker, so it's just usually like camera set in one angle and has a cool looking shot at that position. But anyways, it looks like we're getting close to 10 o'clock, so I think this is probably a good place to kind of wrap things up. Actually we'll ask one more question because we like that. And also look for the chat if there was one question from Marshall. Do either of you go back and change a song once another is made to add an Easter egg or a detail to tie them together? Do you add any type of Easter eggs to future songs? I think that's what they're implying, is like for future songs, make a callback, basically.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before, and it's usually either I have like some close friends or songwriter friends that I'm like, I wonder if they're going to catch this, because it's like, either I'm like taking a line from like one of the songs on the new record, Swimming in the Shades of Grey. There's a line, the opening line is like, black coat under a yellow sundress with her heart tied out on her arm. And my good friend Vincent Draper has like a really old song called, I want to say it's called Maggie, that says something about her heart tied on her arm. And so like I did that as like a little homage to him, but mostly just like, I don't know how many people are gonna notice that, but I know if he listens to it, he'll be like,
hey, right? So, hey, yeah, totally.
Yeah, there's things like that, and so I'm trying to think of more specific things, but like my mom and my sister and my good friend, they used to joke about having like drinking games at my shows of like, oh, you got to take a drink every time he says blue eyes, or every time he mentions an angel or a dad, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because it's just like, and it's funny because when I'm playing some sets, sometimes I'm like, that's the third song in a row where I've said daddy. God damn.
I guess
funny
it's
enough, obvious at this point.
Yeah, funny enough, my word is specter. I really like
Spectre.
the
That's a cool
Spectre.
word, though.
I know. That's why I keep using it, because I think it's cool. And then I'm like, oh,
I've
I've
never
used that already.
word. I'm using that in the next song I write.
Take it, man. There's a big thing I use a lot is because I was a big Shakespeare fan back in the day. Did a lot of plays and stuff. I was a theater kid, so pulling things from like Shakespeare dialogue, which is great because he's a fucking genius.
Yeah,
like
it's never ending.
I'm literally working on a song and I'm trying to pull the line. There's a part from Romeo and Juliet where he's talking about like being a dreamer, and it's just like, well, dreamers often lie. There's like a pause. In bed asleep while they dream things true. And I just kind of like that kind of fun little play on words of being like lying as in lying down as well as like fibbing. So
the double meaning. Yeah, that I love that. I try and do, like, I have an old song called Stuck Out in Texas where there's a line that says Tulsa was nothing more than okay at best. And
that's
you know,
great.
and it's like at the time I hated Tulsa because I'd only been there like one time and I had like a really shitty time.
Mm-hmm.
And then now every time I've gone back to Tulsa since, I feel like the city's been trying to prove to me how fucking much
How
it
awesome
rules.
it is. Yeah.
And so now I'm like, now that line to me means Tulsa is Oklahoma at best. Like, you know, it's like in a good way. It's like, it used to be like Tulsa's nothing more than okay at best, and it's like, yeah, Oklahoma sucks and Tulsa's like the best of it, but it's still not great. And to me now it's like, no, Oklahoma. And I also have like a lot of family history in Oklahoma, and so as I get older I pay more attention to that stuff. And so now for me it's like, I love Oklahoma, and not that I'm trying to move there, but I love Oklahoma. I love Tulsa, and Tulsa is like the cream of the crop.
It's the best of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
that's fun. That's I like that. I like that evolution of and the great thing is, you know, unless you say this stuff, no one's gonna know. So it's like like that interpretation lives in if you never said anything, you could have the whole spectrum of what people think that true meaning is. So that I love that. That's brilliant. Okay. I know we're past 10 o'clock, folks.
Oh, it's all good.
I appreciate everyone hanging out with us. Charles, like you said, Cosmic Cannon Fodder out now on Spotify. I'm gonna put some links in our Discord, as well as I'll probably just put it on the Instagram story. That's probably the best place to put it as well. People can click all the links. It's hard to do with the live stream stuff because it goes away as soon as we're done.
Totally.
But the people will get the links. Is there anything you want to shout out? Any upcoming shows? Anything you want the people to know before we get off?
Currently I don't have anything. There's things in the works, but nothing specific. I will say, please just find my YouTube channel or subscribe, or my Instagram, you know, give me a follow. Check out the music, and if you like it, buy a copy of the record on vinyl on my website, charlesellsworthmusic.com/store, or you can find me on Bandcamp. But that really, you know, I got a closet full of boxes of records that I'd really rather them be at your, you know, I think it's like a great record, and I'd really love to sell more of it and get it out to people. And also, you know, there's not a whole lot of money in streaming, so if you want to support, please pick up a record. Or I've got some great T-shirts and stuff that are left over from my last tour that, you know, my favorite one is, it says, "Be the cowboy you want to see in the world." And it says like anti-fascist, anti-racist, and kind.
Oh, that's great. I love that. I'm going to have to get a T-shirt.
I'm sick of all the cowboys. You know, I grew up around cowboys, and I grew up like worshiping and idolizing cowboys. And and I'm sick of them all being fucking fascist these days. You know?
Totally.
So many of them. It's like, oh man, what the fuck? Fuck that. They don't own this look. Like, this is. And so I've started leaning way harder into the cowboy look than I ever have in my life, because I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be the leftist, anti-capitalist, fucking accepting of everyone cowboy. You know, I know there's lots of them out there, but like I'm just like, I just
want
people to know where I fucking stand.
Totally. The New York City cowboy. The real one.
I like a cowboy hat, and I also like people with other skin colors and belief systems than me.
Hell yeah. Well, I'm already seeing in the chat some people have already started following me on Spotify, so that's great to see.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Now, just to confirm with the Instagram and the other ones, is it also Charles Ellsworth Music or just your name? Just want to make sure people get that.
Instagram is Charles Ellsworth Music. charles.ellsworth.music, and then I think YouTube is just Charles Ellsworth. And
Okay, great.
I've got my music on that same channel, as well as tons of videos from the past however many years there too.
Amazing. Amazing. I love to see it. Thank you, sir. And
thank you so much. This was a blast.
Yeah, of course, of course. Thank you guys for sticking around. As always, we do a show every Thursday. We're actually also doing another interview show this Sunday with Wrongbirds. So make sure to come back 8 o'clock Sunday night. Where every other Thursday we're going to be doing something, whether it's gaming or music or band practice or something like that. So thank you for sticking around this long. And thank you again, Charles, for coming.
Dude, thank you so much for having me.